A billionaire on the brink of death, a homeless little girl no one believed in, and a secret so shocking it could destroy everything he thought he knew. Ethan Walker had it all: power, legacy, control, until a failed investment shattered his empire and a random encounter outside a hospital turned his world upside down. She was just a child, barefoot in the cold, with nothing but a backpack and a stare too deep for her age. But when he took her in, out of guilt or desperation, he couldn't explain the strange connection he felt, or why her eyes reminded him of someone he'd lost long ago. Then, she spoke, and everything changed. What if she wasn't just any child? What if the most powerful minds in tech had created something they couldn't control and tried to erase it? And what if that little girl held the key to exposing it all? This is not just a story about redemption. It's a race against time, a battle for truth, and a haunting question. What makes someone human? And who gets to decide? Watch until the end, because the twist will leave you speechless. They called him a fallen genius. Just a year ago, Ethan Walker was gracing the covers of Fortune and Forbes. He built a tech empire from scratch, mentored underdogs, and was even considered for Treasury advisor. But now he sat alone on a rain-soaked bench in New York City's Central Park, wearing a torn coat, staring blankly at a stale bagel in his hand. The world believed Ethan lost everything in a market crash. That was only half the truth. What really destroyed him wasn't Wall Street. It was Preston Hale, his closest friend and business partner. The man he once trusted with his life's work had framed him for embezzlement, rerouted millions into shell accounts, and walked away clean, smiling for the cameras as Ethan was handcuffed in his own office. But fate has a strange sense of timing. Just as Ethan was about to toss his last dollar into a nearby trash can, he heard something odd, soft humming, almost like a lullaby. He turned there. Sitting cross-legged under the awning of a hot dog cart was a 9-year-old girl folding paper cranes with shocking precision. Her fingers moved like clockwork. Her clothes were dusty, her sneakers mismatched, but her eyes, those piercing gray eyes, held a fire that stopped Ethan cold. "How many have you sold today?" Ethan asked gently. She didn't flinch. "4. But one lady paid with a button. I kept it anyway. Might trade it later." Something in her voice was too sharp, too composed. Not like a child, more like someone who had seen too much. "What's your name?" She hesitated, then answered. Lily Parker." "And where's your family, Lily?" Silence. Then came the answer that struck deeper than anything Ethan had heard in court. "I don't need a family. Families leave." That night, Ethan didn't return to the shelter he'd been staying in. He brought Lily to the modest studio apartment he rented after selling the last of his stocks. He cooked her scrambled eggs, which she cautiously inspected before eating. Then he gave her a blanket. But when he woke at 3 a.m., Lily was in the corner, huddled, eyes wide open, holding a fork like a weapon. There was canned food hidden beneath the couch cushions. Why was this child trained for survival like a war veteran? Ethan decided to find out. He contacted an old acquaintance, Olivia Grant, a cybersecurity expert who had once worked on a defense contract with Ethan's firm. Together, they ran a basic trace. No birth certificate, no known relatives, no school record. Lily Parker didn't exist on paper. So who was she really? And why on the back of one of her origami cranes had Ethan discovered a string of prime numbers arranged in a sequence that could only be understood by someone with advanced mathematical training? He tested her playfully at first, mental math puzzle cubes. Riddles, she crushed all of them. Then came the shock, she corrected a theorem Ethan himself had struggled with for years, a theorem still being debated in academic circles. Could it be possible this homeless little girl was a savant? But just as things began to look up, something dark surfaced. One evening, Lily froze at the sight of a man standing outside their window. He didn't knock, didn't speak, just stared for exactly 3 minutes, then walked away. Lily didn't sleep that night, and Ethan noticed she now kept the fork under her pillow. Who was that man? And why did Lily whisper the word, "He found me," in her sleep? Ethan knew he couldn't let her go back to whatever hell she had escaped. The next morning, he walked into the Manhattan family court, gripping her small hand, determined to make her his daughter. Everyone in the courtroom stared. A disgraced millionaire, trying to adopt an undocumented child. The judge raised a brow. Do you have any blood relation to this girl? No, Ethan replied, but I know what it's like to be betrayed by the people you trust the most. And I know this little girl deserves better than to disappear into the system. The room fell silent. Then the judge did something no one expected. She allowed the emergency guardianship pending full review. Ethan and Lily walked out hand in hand, but someone was watching them from across the street. A woman in a navy coat holding a phone whispering into it. Was this a new threat or part of Lily's forgotten past coming to reclaim her? Before we continue with next part, I want to say I'm truly sorry for pausing the story here, but I promise what's coming next will shock you even more. Let me ask you something. Do you think Lily is truly just a lost genius? Or is there something even darker she's hiding? And what would you do if a child like that suddenly walked into your life carrying both brilliance and danger? Tell me in the comments. Also, I'd love to know which country you're watching this from. If you enjoyed this story so far, please hit the like button and give it a heart. Your support helps us keep sharing these powerful stories. Ethan Walker never thought a 9-year-old would change the way he saw the world again. After the courtroom granted him temporary guardianship of Lily Parker, he believed they could finally breathe. But peace, it turned out, was just another illusion. It started with the drawings. Lily had always sketched patterns on napkins and notebooks, even on Ethan's old receipts. But now her doodles grew strange. Grids filled with calculation symbols Ethan couldn't decode. One evening, as he looked closer, he noticed a disturbing detail. Her sketches mirrored data flow charts from his old hedge fund layouts he had only ever shared with one man. Preston Hale. Was Lily unintentionally recreating stolen systems? Or had someone trained her? Ethan knew he had to dig deeper. He reconnected with Olivia Grant, the cybersecurity analyst he trusted most. Using a private server in his basement, they ran Lily's math through advanced decryption tools. The result? Her drawings weren't random at all. They were algorithmic fingerprints identical to those used in financial manipulation schemes, traced back to Hale's offshore accounts. Somehow this little girl held the blueprint to one of the largest frauds in U.S. financial history. How did she know these patterns? And if she knew them, who else did? Suddenly, the memory of the man watching their window that night didn't seem like a coincidence. Ethan installed hidden cameras around the apartment. That same week, footage revealed a woman approaching their door, short hair, sunglasses, at night, pretending to be lost. But she never knocked. Instead, she slid something under the door. A note. It read, "You shouldn't have taken her. She doesn't belong to you." Who were they? And more importantly, what did they mean by belong? The tension escalated when Lily's school called. She had been approached by a man claiming to be her uncle. When the staff asked for ID, he vanished. No name, no record. Ethan had seen enough. He pulled Lily out of school and brought her to a safe house owned by Olivia's firm off-grid. No internet, no phones, hidden in upstate New York. That's when Lily cracked one night while they played chess by candlelight. She suddenly asked if someone made you smart. Do you still belong to yourself? Ethan leaned in. What do you mean, Lily? She hesitated, then whispered, They gave me injections. They said it would help me think faster. I didn't want it, but I was scared. I didn't know who to tell. His blood ran cold. Where had she come from? The answer arrived a few days later. A former whistleblower from a defense lab reached out to Olivia after recognizing Lily from a pattern recognition test she'd shared anonymously online. The man, clearly shaken, revealed a covert AI project that had been shut down after ethical concerns. The project's name, Phoenix Protocol. They had tested experimental neuroenhancement on unclaimed children, orphans, runaways, kids who wouldn't be missed. Lily had been one of them. Ethan could hardly breathe. All this time, Lily wasn't just gifted, she was engineered. But if the Phoenix Protocol had been shut down, why was someone still tracking her? Unless the project never really ended. They decided to go public, but they needed proof, real proof. So Lily, using her memory and fragments of her old code, built a new algorithm, a tracker designed to scan global financial transactions and detect signs of Phoenix-linked manipulation. She called it TrueStream. In just 3 days, it flagged a live data breach, a suspicious funneling of funds through shell companies tied to Hale's name. Olivia cross-referenced the data, and what they found was chilling. Preston Hale was funding a private lab in Estonia, continuing the Phoenix work under a different name. And worse, new children had disappeared from Eastern Europe over the last year, all fitting the same profile. As Lily, Ethan felt the rage boil inside him. Preston hadn't just betrayed him financially, he had built a human experiment from the ashes of their company. He knew what had to be done. Using the data, they called in a trusted contact at the FBI. But before the meeting could happen, Ethan found a red dot on his chest as he stepped out of the safe house porch. A laser, a sniper. He dove to the ground just as a bullet shattered the lamp beside him. They weren't sending lawyers anymore. They were sending killers. What would you do? If the truth you uncovered made you a target, would you run or would you fight? They ran, but not to hide to Washington. Ethan and Lily, with the help of Olivia and their FBI contact, held a private hearing with a subcommittee on technological ethics. The case shook Capitol Hill. Lily, wearing her only clean dress, stood before senators and said, "I am not a mistake. I am not an experiment. I'm a person, and I want this to stop." The room fell silent, and then thunderous applause. But as they left the building, Ethan's heart clenched, not from fear but from pain. He collapsed on the steps of the Capitol. A heart attack. Paramedics arrived within minutes. Lily rode with him in the ambulance, clutching his hand, whispering, "You can't leave me now. We're not done yet." And she was right, because what comes next will leave the world forever changed. I'm truly sorry to stop here, but I promise the final part will shake you. Before we continue, let me ask you, if you found out a child had been engineered, yet wanted nothing more than to live a normal life, would you help them or fear them? And what kind of justice should people like Preston Hale face for using children as tools? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, what country are you watching from? And if this story moved you even a little, please like and tap the heart. Your support means everything. Ethan Walker had always believed that power meant control. But as he sat in the hospital bed, weakened from the heart attack, watching Lily sleep in a chair by the window, he realized power was something else entirely. It was responsibility. He had failed her once by turning a blind eye to what Hale was building behind the scenes. He wouldn't fail her again. 3 weeks later, with the help of Olivia and a trusted FBI contact, Ethan launched a full-scale legal offensive. Preston Hale's biotech operations were exposed in a series of bombshell reports revealing dozens of children like Lily who had been used in experimental cognitive programs under the false pretense of genetic therapy. But one thing was still missing: public accountability. And then something unexpected happened. Lily, barely 9 years old, asked Ethan for permission to tell her story. Not just to a therapist, not to the press, to the world. A United Nations panel on AI ethics and human experimentation was being held in Geneva. At first, Ethan refused. "You've already been through enough. You don't owe anyone anything." But Lily said something that stopped him cold. "If I don't speak, then I stay a secret, and secrets are how monsters survive." Would you have let her speak, Geneva? The hall was packed with international delegates, cameras, journalists, skeptical faces. But when Lily stepped up to the microphone, she didn't look afraid. She looked ready. She began slowly recounting the first days in the learning center, where Hale's team had monitored her sleep dreams, even emotional responses. "I wasn't taught like a person." She said, "I was programmed like an app." You could hear a pin drop, but the room truly broke when she told them what scared her the most. It wasn't the machines, it was thinking. "Maybe I'm not real." And then she said, "I am real, and I remember everything, even the people who pretended I didn't matter." The hall stood in stunned silence. Then slowly applause began. Within 72 hours, the Phoenix Protocol, Hale's research umbrella, was classified as a human rights violation. Preston Hale was arrested trying to board a private flight in Prague. His assets were frozen. His name became synonymous with one of the greatest tech scandals of the century. But that wasn't the ending Ethan wanted. Because for Lily and the others like her, it wasn't about Hale anymore. It was about what came next. He dissolved the remains of his tech company and launched the Lighthouse Initiative, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting children who had been subjected to illegal AI experiments. Olivia became its co-founder, and together with Lily, they built a team of engineers, trauma specialists, and lawyers. But Lily wasn't just the poster child. She was the future architect. She designed digital tools that could detect AI abuse in educational software. She created simple apps that helped kids rebuild their memory patterns. She even taught other survivors to use their stories as weapons through writing art and technology. And one day a letter arrived. Lily had submitted an anonymous paper to the Global Youth Innovation Challenge under the initials LP. It was a complex proposal on how to create ethical AI that could never be repurposed to manipulate children. She won at the awards ceremony in Boston, surrounded by scientists and inventors twice her age. She stood tall in her blue dress and red sneakers. When asked what she wanted to be when she grew up, she simply said, "Someone who makes sure no other kid has to wonder if they're human." But even in her brightest moments, Ethan could still see it, the quiet sadness in her eyes. One night while walking home from the office, she asked him, "If you had known what they were doing back then, would you have stopped them?" He paused, then answered honestly, "I don't know. I wanted to believe people like Hale wouldn't go that far. I was wrong." She looked up at him and nodded. "Then let's never be wrong again." What would you have said? That winter, Lily gave a TED Talk titled, "The Right to Be Real." It went viral within 48 hours. Ethan watched from backstage, tears running silently down his face. Not out of grief, but pride and awe. Because Lily wasn't a victim anymore. She was a revolution. And as the snow fell outside, Ethan understood. Sometimes the smallest voice becomes the loudest truth. Sometimes the most broken child becomes the most powerful protector. And sometimes being human means choosing to care when it's easier not to. We're sorry to pause the story here, but we hope this journey moved you as much as it moved us while writing it. Now let me ask you, what would you do if a child turned to you and asked, "Am I real?" Would you have the strength to tell the truth and still fight for their future? And do you believe that people like Ethan, who once looked away, deserve redemption? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Are you watching this from the US, Europe, or somewhere else? If you believe stories like this matter, please tap the heart and share this video to help others discover it too. If you think this story deserves to continue, comment no 3 below. If you weren't satisfied, comment no 1. If you felt it was just okay, comment no 2. Thank you for staying with us until the end. We'll see you in the next story.